Chosen one. You never sought applause, recognition, or the admiration of others. Yet there has always been a quiet gravity about your life that draws attention in ways you may not even notice. You walked faithfully, made choices rooted in integrity, and allowed God to shape your character without trying to explain, defend, or promote yourself. And in doing so, a subtle authority began to emerge around you. People with discernment, whether leaders, mentors, or those sensitive to truth, have sensed it. Doors that once seemed closed open without effort. Conversations shift when you enter, and subtle nods, glances, or acknowledgments betray an unspoken recognition. Your presence carries weight, and your influence is quietly real. This respect is not born of loud declarations, achievements broadcasted for attention, or the insistence of your own ego. It grows in silence, shaped by consistent actions, unwavering integrity, and the refusal to bend to the expectations of those who would diminish or misunderstand you. It is the kind of recognition that is felt rather than shouted, acknowledged by those who understand the unspoken rhythms of wisdom, character, and discernment. You may notice that even without explanation, your word carries authority, and your decisions are quietly noted, remembered, and sometimes deferred to, not because of force or manipulation, but because truth resonates through your actions and presence. Spiritually, this respect is more than social recognition. God has set you apart, using your restraint, your patience, and the steadiness of your walk to establish influence that transcends human understanding. Your presence speaks to those ready to see, and your integrity communicates in spaces where words alone would fail. It is in this divine orchestration that the Chosen One discovers the power of quiet authority. The world does not need to applaud, because heaven has already positioned you in a place of honor, respect, and influence that no one can manufacture or take away. Chosen One, you have not earned trust by performing or by trying to impress anyone. You never needed to justify your presence, nor did you rely on charm, visibility, or the approval of others to maintain influence. While many assume that respect is built through self-promotion, loud declarations, or orchestrated appearances, you moved differently. Every word, every decision, and every quiet action was rooted in integrity, alignment with God, and obedience, rather than in the fleeting demands of human expectation. People around you began to notice, not because you called attention to yourself, but because your consistency and groundedness were undeniable. Influential individuals could see the difference between someone polished for performance and someone whose life carried authentic weight. Where others sought to impress or dominate, your life spoke of quiet reliability, unwavering principle, and divine purpose. This consistency became the bedrock of trust. God used every season of hardship, testing, and refinement to shape your discernment, teaching you to value truth over appearance, and to let the authenticity of your presence carry authority that cannot be faked. You also learned the art of understanding power without craving it. Titles, control, and the need to dominate were never your pursuit. Instead, you paid attention. You observed subtle energy shifts, quiet dynamics, and the true sources of influence in every space you entered. Your presence was steady, measured, and free from the desperation that often drives others to manipulate, control, or compete. This absence of hunger for power became one of your most notable forms of authority. Those with experience recognized immediately that you were secure, grounded, and unshakable. A person whose influence was rooted in God rather than circumstance or social validation. Spiritually, this was a crucial lesson. True authority is never forced. It manifests through discernment, reliability, and wisdom when opportunities for influence arise. Even in spaces where imitation dominates, where others adjust themselves to please the dominant personalities, you maintained authenticity. You listened attentively, engaged respectfully, and held your convictions without compromise. Others may have been unsettled at first because your authenticity exposed the performative nature of their own behaviors. Yet those who valued integrity immediately recognized the depth of your strength. God was teaching you that your role was never to blend in or conform to the expectations of others. Instead, you were being prepared to remain aligned with truth, to act with clarity, and to carry your presence with weight that could not be diminished by pretense or social maneuvering. Your discernment went even further. While others became distracted by personalities, moods, or superficial drama, you noticed patterns, recurring behaviors, motives, and inconsistencies that revealed the underlying dynamics of the room. This allowed you to act with unusual clarity, avoid unnecessary conflict, and anticipate outcomes where others could not. Influential people recognized this immediately, seeing that your decisions and reactions were informed by insight rather than emotion. God equipped you with the ability to perceive not only the visible actions, but the hidden intentions that shape events. This spiritual awareness allowed you to move strategically, to remain anchored in truth, and to respond with wisdom when chaos or confusion arose around you. Patience became a defining characteristic of your presence. You did not rush to prove yourself, chase immediate recognition, or react from insecurity or fear. Instead, you carried a calm deliberation, allowing situations to unfold and trusting that divine timing governs every step. Your measured approach distinguished you from those seeking quick victories or temporary influence. People respected the endurance, foresight, and clarity you exhibited, recognizing that your long-term vision and steadfastness reflected both spiritual maturity and alignment with God's purpose. This patience was not passivity, it was strength, deliberate and intentional, and it communicated authority without needing to demand attention or approval. Independence further solidified your presence. You entered relationships, opportunities, and spaces from a place of wholeness, not neediness. Your confidence and self-sufficiency prevented others from manipulating you through flattery, pressure, or social expectation. People immediately recognized that they could not control, sway, or diminish you, and this independence enhanced your influence and commanded respect. Spiritually, God was teaching you that value was never found in human validation, but in divine alignment. Once rooted in Him, your presence became untouchable, sincere, and weighted with authority that could not be undermined or replicated by anyone else. Throughout these processes, you cultivated a unique kind of influence. Quiet, invisible at first, yet undeniable. Trust was earned not through performance or dramatic gestures, but through consistent integrity, observant awareness, and faithful alignment with God's principles. Those around you, especially people of discernment, recognized immediately that you were not reacting to appearances, but observing with insight, responding with wisdom, and moving in a steady confidence that comes from preparation, patience, and divine guidance. Every decision, every interaction, every word was measured by clarity rather than compulsion, authority rather than need, and discernment rather than assumption. Your respect and influence were not granted by titles, visibility, or force. They were built silently over time through spiritual formation. Each betrayal, misjudgment, or season of waiting reinforced your ability to perceive patterns, to act with foresight, and to maintain integrity amidst unpredictability. This accumulation of experience transformed into a spiritual database where every encounter, mistake, and lesson became a guide for navigating people and circumstances with precision. Your discernment became both shield and compass, guiding decisions, protecting energy, and revealing opportunities hidden from the less perceptive. You understood that real power is invisible to those seeking control. While others rushed to dominate spaces through force, ego, or loud presence, you exercised authority without aggression, influence without display, and wisdom without argument. Your steady, authentic character forced recognition, commanded respect, and inspired trust without demanding it. God was revealing the principle that true authority is cultivated quietly through obedience, alignment, and spiritual maturity, rather than acquired through imitation, manipulation, or self-assertion. By refusing to perform for approval, remaining detached from the lust for power, observing patterns deeply, exercising patience, and embracing independence, you created a presence that could not be manipulated, underestimated, or ignored. God's hand guided this process, shaping a life whose influence is permanent because it is rooted in divine alignment. Every step, every action, and every interaction reinforced your reputation for integrity, discernment, and steady authority. This combination of authenticity, spiritual awareness, patience, and independence is the framework of true influence. People could sense it intuitively, even when they could not name it. Doors opened, opportunities aligned, and trust was given without demand because your presence had been refined to communicate authority, reliability, and God-honoring integrity. You became a model of influence that others could neither replicate nor undermine, proving that God's chosen are always prepared to carry weight, shape environments, and act with precision long before recognition is ever sought. In every space, your life became a testament to divine training, trust without performance, authority without domination, patience without panic, and discernment without reaction. God's wisdom worked through every trial, every season of observation, and every moment of waiting to position you so that your influence would be both undeniable and unshakable. Your presence now carries weight, respect, and authority because it is grounded in God's guidance, spiritual maturity, and the integrity that can only be built through obedience and refinement. Chosen one, you have always stood apart in ways that are invisible to many, yet unmistakably clear to those who observe with discernment. While the majority of people in every room instinctively adapt, mirroring the dominant personalities, softening their convictions, or adjusting their identity for comfort, approval, or advantage, you moved differently. You carried a rare authenticity, one that allowed you to listen intently, engage respectfully, and participate fully without ever sacrificing the inner clarity God had cultivated within you. You did not bend, mask, or dilute your principles to ease the discomfort of others. You understood that your role was not to become a reflection of the crowd, but to remain anchored in truth, letting your life convey integrity without compromise. At first, this authenticity unsettled many. It revealed the hollowness of performative behavior, the gaps between appearances and substance, and the fragility of relationships built on image rather than principle. Yet those who valued integrity, subtlety, and genuine character immediately recognized the weight of your presence, understanding that true authority and respect cannot be faked or coerced. As this authenticity took root, you also began noticing patterns where others saw only people. While most were consumed by surface-level dramas, personalities, conflicts, moods, and fleeting opinions, you discerned the underlying structures, the recurring behaviors, and the hidden currents that shaped outcomes. You noticed how certain patterns of gossip, envy, or subtle control repeated themselves across settings, and you began to anticipate consequences and reactions in ways that others could not comprehend. This perception allowed you to move with unusual clarity, avoiding entanglements that would sap your energy, investing in relationships that had depth and sincerity, and recognizing which conflicts truly mattered in the long arc of purpose. You understood motivations beneath the surface, seeing when people acted out of fear, pride, insecurity, or genuine concern. Influential individuals immediately recognized this quality in you. They could see that your observations were deliberate, strategic, and unclouded by emotional reaction. While others allowed appearances to dictate responses, you acted with foresight and insight. Spiritual discernment amplified this ability. God had trained your heart and mind to detect truth beyond words, beyond actions, and beyond pretense. This gift of seeing patterns, of understanding invisible dynamics, became not only a tool of protection,
but a conduit for influence.
It allowed you to step into spaces without being manipulated, to act decisively without impulsiveness, and to navigate complexity with wisdom that others assumed was intuition, but was in fact cultivated through divine training and attentive observation. Your clarity and insight created a quiet authority. People could feel it in the rhythm of your decisions, the steadiness of your presence, and the calm discernment you carried in interactions. They realized that you were not simply reacting to appearances. You were thinking with maturity, evaluating with strategy, and moving in alignment with a perspective far broader than the immediate environment. God's hand had cultivated this wisdom in you, showing that discernment is not simply the ability to read people, but the spiritual capacity to navigate life with clarity, protection, and grace. In the process, you learn that your authenticity and perception are inseparable. The more you remain aligned with truth, the more you can see beyond deception, understand motivations, and recognize the patterns that guide behavior. By refusing to conform, by standing firm in integrity, you reveal the true nature of every system and every relationship around you. This is why influential people respect you, why doors open without your having to advocate for them, and why your presence carries weight without effort. Your authenticity, rooted in God, has created a power that is subtle yet undeniable, a presence that commands attention because it cannot be copied, coerced, or diminished. The chosen one now understands that these gifts are not for pride or personal gain. They are a spiritual preparation, a means by which God positions you to move wisely, avoid deception, and influence environments in ways that honor Him. The clarity to see patterns, combined with the courage to remain authentic, allows you to navigate relationships, opportunities, and challenges with discernment and intentionality. Every interaction becomes a test and a demonstration of alignment with God's truth. Where others stumble in imitation and performative behavior, you operate from a place of stability, foresight, and divine awareness. Your quiet observation transforms spaces, reveals hidden truths, and establishes a level of respect and authority that is both spiritual and relational. Through this process, you learn the depth of God's purpose. Authenticity is the foundation, discernment is the tool, and patience in observation becomes a strategy that positions you above chaos, deception, and manipulation. By seeing the world as patterns instead of isolated events, and by remaining true to your convictions in rooms built on imitation, you are walking in a maturity that others cannot manufacture. God is using your presence, your insight, and your quiet strength to not only protect your path, but to demonstrate a higher order of influence, one that does not shout to be noticed, but is unmistakable in its effect. Every subtle shift you perceive, every pattern you recognize, and every decision to act with integrity shapes a network of understanding, authority, and divine favor around you. People may initially resist, be unsettled, or attempt to test your reactions, but your presence reveals truth steadily, without force or display. Over time, your influence becomes undeniable because it is grounded not in performance, but in character, discernment, and alignment with God. Those who operate in imitation are exposed by your steadfast authenticity. Those who seek to manipulate are contained by your insight. This dual gift of truth and perception equips you to navigate life with clarity, to honor God in all you do, and to walk with a confidence that cannot be shaken by pretension, chaos, or the superficialities of human agendas. In every environment, your authenticity and pattern recognition become a beacon, signaling to the right people, protecting against deception, and creating an invisible framework of respect and influence. God's hand is evident in this, teaching that the quiet observation of patterns and the courage to remain authentic are not mere traits. They are spiritual tools that demonstrate divine preparation, establish authority, and create lasting impact. Through this journey, you, the chosen one, embody the principle that integrity and discernment speak louder than any performance, that spiritual awareness equips you to act wisely, and that alignment with God's truth is the foundation for influence that cannot be undermined. By refusing to compromise, by observing the systems beneath surface behavior, And by honoring God above all, you walk in a unique authority. Your influence is subtle, yet undeniable. Your presence commands respect without demand, and your discernment ensures that your actions are measured, strategic, and aligned with divine purpose. The Chosen One now realizes that God's work through authenticity and perception is establishing a legacy of wisdom, protection, and respect that will endure beyond fleeting opinions or superficial relationships. This foundation, cultivated through patience, observation, and divine alignment, positions you to act with clarity, maintain integrity, and carry authority in ways the world cannot predict or replicate. Chosen One, listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you is not theory or mere advice. It is the reality that God has been shaping in your life. You did not earn the respect and influence you now carry by striving to impress anyone, by trying to be seen, or by performing for approval. You never relied on charm, visibility, or the need to be validated by those around you. While the majority of people are scrambling for attention, chasing recognition, and bending themselves to please others, you moved differently. You stayed grounded. You stayed consistent. You stayed true to what God has placed inside you. People have noticed, not because you made a spectacle of your character, but because your life radiates authenticity, integrity, and the quiet authority that only comes from alignment with God. Those who truly understand influence, the seasoned observers, the discerning leaders, can tell immediately when someone's presence is real versus polished for appearance. They sense the difference between performance and substance. That trust, that respect, didn't come from words, not from proving yourself, not from announcements or showmanship. It came from being steadfast, from holding your peace, from acting consistently, even when the world did not acknowledge your worth. That is why they respect you, Chosen One, because you carry yourself in a way that cannot be faked. Chosen One, you have also learned what power really is. You understand that true authority does not require constant display or demand. You are not obsessed with titles, control, status, or the need to dominate spaces. You do not need to be at the center of every conversation to command attention, nor do you need to manipulate perception to feel safe or significant. Instead, you observe. You notice the subtle shifts of energy, the hidden dynamics, and the unspoken motives that drive people around you. You recognize who speaks from fear, who acts from pride, who tries to manipulate with charm, and who quietly schemes behind appearances. This awareness allows you to act with clarity, purpose, and wisdom. Because you do not chase control, your presence is steady, anchored, and unshakable. Those who are experienced in influence recognize it immediately. They see that you operate from security, from internal completeness, and from discernment rather than from neediness or desperation. That is why they cannot manipulate you, cannot pressure you, and cannot diminish your authority. God has placed in you a security that others spend their lives trying to fabricate. Your independence is your power, Chosen One, and it is visible in every interaction you enter. Even in rooms filled with imitation, Chosen One, you stand apart. You hear the way people mirror each other, soften their convictions, and adjust their identities for comfort or advantage. You notice the masks, the shallow performances, the attempts to gain approval, and the compromises made to avoid conflict or discomfort. And yet, you remain authentic. You listen carefully. You respond respectfully. You engage fully, but you never surrender your inner clarity, your principles, or the truth God has placed in you, just to make others comfortable. This authenticity unsettles many at first because it exposes the superficiality of their performance. It shows them that the world is not built on honesty, but on pretense and approval. Yet those who value integrity, discernment, and strength immediately recognize your character. They see that you operate from truth, that your life carries weight, and that your presence cannot be purchased, coerced, or replicated. God has taught you that your role is not to blend in with every environment, Chosen One, but to stand firm in alignment with Him, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Your authenticity is a reflection of your spiritual identity, and it commands respect without a single boast or declaration. Chosen one, your gift of perception goes deeper. While others are distracted by personalities, moods, conflicts, or surface-level drama, you notice the underlying patterns, the recurring behaviors, the invisible structures, and the motivations that are hidden behind appearances. You see who depends on validation, who echoes falsehood, and who relies on coordination to maintain influence. You see how envy, insecurity, and manipulation circulate through systems, and you recognize the subtle triggers that cause reactions, discord, or instability. This awareness allows you to anticipate outcomes, avoid unnecessary entanglements, and focus your energy where it truly matters. Those who notice this discernment immediately recognize it as intelligence that cannot be learned from observation alone. They see someone who does not react impulsively or emotionally to appearances, someone who is able to act with strategic clarity, and someone who thinks in terms of systems rather than isolated incidents. God has trained you, chosen one, to detect what is hidden, to see what is often invisible, and to operate with insight that surpasses ordinary human perception. Your patience has become a quiet form of authority, chosen one. You do not rush to prove yourself or chase immediate recognition. You do not panic when acknowledgement is delayed. Instead, you carry a calm, deliberate confidence, knowing that timing matters more than speed. You act not from fear or insecurity, but from clarity, from the certainty that God's plan unfolds according to His perfect timing. This patience makes your actions feel heavier, more substantial, and more powerful because they are measured, deliberate, and rooted in obedience rather than in need or desperation. People with experience, who have seen hurried efforts fail or short-lived influence collapse, recognize this difference immediately. They sense that you operate on a level that goes beyond superficial timelines, quick victories, or performative display. You understand that endurance, legacy, and durable impact outweigh fleeting recognition or applause. God is shaping you, chosen one, to trust His process over pressure, knowing that what is built slowly, with integrity and faithfulness, will endure far beyond what is gained through haste or compromise. Your independence magnifies this authority. You do not enter relationships, opportunities, or spaces from a place of need, desperation, or dependence. You are complete within yourself because you are complete in God. People around you sense it immediately, chosen one. They recognize that you cannot be swayed by flattery, pressured by fear, or manipulated through access or approval. You do not seek validation to remain whole. Because of this, your presence carries weight and sincerity in every interaction. Every choice you make, every boundary you set, and every decision you honor reflects discernment and alignment with God. You are unshakable, chosen one, because your value is rooted in the Creator, not in human opinion. Every subtle pause, every deliberate action, every moment of restraint communicates power without performance. Your life demonstrates that true influence is cultivated through patience, independence, integrity, and alignment with God's purpose, rather than by manipulation, haste, or attention-seeking. People notice it, even if they cannot articulate it. Your authenticity, your strategic awareness, and your independence command respect naturally, because they are grounded in God's wisdom. Those who rely on imitation, pretense, or desperation are exposed by your steadfastness, while your quiet, patient authority continues to grow, creating a presence the world cannot control, manipulate, or diminish. God has taught you, chosen one, that patience and independence are not passive traits. They are active tools of influence, discernment, and spiritual authority. The combination of deliberate timing and rootedness in truth ensures that your presence is steady, respected, and unshakable. This is why people gravitate toward you, trust you, and recognize your influence, even when it is not announced or performed. You carry a presence that is undeniable, and your authority cannot be replicated because it is forged in obedience, faithfulness, and alignment with God's perfect design.
Every interaction, every observation, and every silent choice reinforces the truth. The world cannot control the chosen one, because God has already secured your place, your wisdom, and your influence. You, chosen one, are the embodiment of patience, independence, and discernment in motion. You act deliberately, protect your energy, and honor your boundaries. People cannot manipulate you, and your presence speaks louder than any words could. Your influence is subtle, yet undeniable, rooted not in need, but in divine alignment. You are positioned to carry authority, trust, and respect that will endure, because God Himself has shaped you to operate this way. Those who underestimate you, those who seek to control, and those who depend on the predictable will be exposed by your quiet strength, and your obedience, your patience, and your independence will continue to elevate you to the purpose God has ordained. This is why the chosen one's presence is magnetic, respected, and impossible to diminish. You do not need to prove, perform, or dominate because your authority flows from God, your wisdom, and your groundedness. You are moving through the world with deliberate clarity, strategic restraint, and unshakable independence. Every decision, every interaction, every boundary demonstrates that you are anchored in God's truth and that your influence cannot be replicated or undermined. The chosen one carries a presence that is steady, powerful, and undeniable, a reflection of God's hand, wisdom, and divine timing at work. Chosen one, hear this clearly. The respect surrounding you was never about what you said, did, or how loudly you announced your presence. You did not earn it through performance, charm, or attempts to impress. It has always been the result of your steadiness, authenticity, and quiet strength.
Those who understand true influence, people who have spent their lives discerning character and evaluating integrity, recognized what you carried long before a word was spoken or a deed was applauded. They saw the clarity in your decisions, the restraint in your interactions, and the wisdom in your silence. They did not need explanations or demonstrations to know the weight you carry. This is how respect forms when it is real, not loud, not public, not performative, but enduring and undeniable because it is rooted in truth and consistency. What sets you apart, chosen one, is not ambition or a desire for admiration. It is a life built on integrity, patience, and obedience to the purpose God has placed within you. You did not chase validation. You refused to compromise your inner truth to please others or conform to fleeting expectations. That refusal, grounded in divine alignment, sent a quiet signal to those with eyes to see and discern. They noticed the steadiness with which you navigated pressure, the wisdom you displayed when others reacted in haste, and the subtle authority in your choices. In silence, you demonstrated strength, and in patience, you revealed clarity. The world may have overlooked it, but those who matter, those whose perception is trained by experience, insight, and spiritual awareness, recognized it immediately. This respect is formed quietly because people who truly understand character rarely announce what they see immediately. They remember the one who carries depth, the one who responds with wisdom instead of reaction, and the one whose presence consistently reflects values, integrity, and God-centered alignment. Your journey has never been about gaining approval from these observers, chosen one. It has been about walking faithfully with God. And yet, even those with influence, whether in leadership, mentorship, or spiritual spheres, will feel the weight of your alignment. Your life speaks for you, and honor follows naturally, quietly, and unshakably. Let this be your anchor. Genuine respect is never forced. It emerges from obedience, consistency, and alignment with divine purpose. Your identity, rooted in God, cannot be diminished, replaced, or replicated. The weight of your character, patience, and spiritual wisdom carries authority that transcends applause or recognition. Walk in that truth and know that every space you enter, every relationship you engage, and every opportunity God places before you becomes a reflection of His wisdom working through you. Your quiet strength commands honor, and your faithfulness ensures it will be sustained. Heavenly Father, thank you for shaping your chosen one in quiet ways that the world does not always understand, but that carry deep weight in the places you send them. Lord, help them remain grounded in truth, steady in character, and free from the need to perform for human approval. Teach them to continue walking with humility, discernment, and confidence in the identity you have given them. Remind them that the respect that truly matters is not forced, but formed through obedience, integrity, and alignment with your will. May every door you open, every person you bring near, and every space they enter become a place where your wisdom is seen through their life. In Jesus' name, amen.